of Governance, Law, and Ethics at York University. Richard, it's nice to see you. What did you make of the fact that this deal seemed to come apart almost as quickly as it was announced?
Well, the question is what were both companies thinking, and what role did each or both boards play or not? If each board did not approve it, then what was management thinking? And if each board did approve it, then what was the board thinking? So I'm starting to see, John, from a governance point of view, that if something triggers a reputation risk, then you're obligated, the C-suite is obligated to bring it to the board, particularly now. And this happened in the last couple of years, what's known as external partnerships, which this was. So we have a minister that is sort of breathing down the neck of grocery companies, and you do not want to make sudden moves without going to the board and getting cross-examined. And likely, if it had gone to the board or did go to the board, you'd have individual directors saying, well, hang on a second here. The minister wants more competition. Isn't this the complete opposite of what the minister wants? So this was in my view, a teachable moment that if in doubt, go to the board and just get a workout by a second set of eyes. And likely if it had gone to the board or did go, management would have been instructed to stand down or to withdraw, especially when the minister says out of the gate, as you said, they don't get it. So I'm speculating here, but it could have been that the minister called both CEOs and said, listen, I'm just not going to approve this.
And what about when it comes to the matters at hand for any board of directors to deal with? When you're talking about businesses, big ones in this country or big ones in this country that are also global, there's no short list of things to discuss. There's always something happening. But in terms of the reaction from those outside of the business community, what does that say about how a company's makeup should then determine the priority list of things that a board actually discusses?
Well, it used to be financial. There'd be a delegated authority to the C-suite that if it's over a certain level, $1 million, $5 million, $10 million, depending on the size of the company, then you must bring it to the board. But now institutional shareholders and regulators are emphasizing stakeholders. So now boards, good boards, are changing this authority. And they're saying, listen, if it's something that involves external stakeholders, a partnership, reputation risk, however defined in the policy, then you also need to bring this to the board. In other words, John, materiality used to be financial prior to the pandemic, but now it's non-financial. And that means that the board gets a kick at the can when it comes to transactions or actions or strategies by management that have the potential for stakeholder consultation, stakeholder engagement. The board wants to see that the T's are crossed and the I's are dotted.
Now, the issue on how people might react to something that is perceived as being less competitive is one part of it. But I alluded to the fact that some people seem to look at this particular partnership as almost the Americanization of Canada's healthcare system. How do you determine that? I mean, it is somewhat intangible, I think, but it is something that a lot of people talk about. It's part of the larger discourse these days.
Yeah, I mean, from a policy point of view, you know, we have banking that is an oligopoly. We have telecom companies, but healthcare is a little different, and it's very personal. So what Canadians, they're actively protecting their healthcare, including seniors, including people with mobility issues, and you know, this has been said that we don't want an oligopoly, CVS and Walgreens. Those are the only two pharmaceutical providers in the United States. We want a lot of small players, and we don't want to lose those mom and pop pharmacies. So policy, healthcare in particular, is predictable that this is something near and dear to Canadians, and they look south of the border and they happen to believe that their healthcare is superior, and they want that choice. So a board should have policy people, and some boards even have ex-politicians that management may not be thinking like this. Like we're discussing right now. So that's up to the board to say, listen, have you thought this through? Particularly when you have a minister who, you know, and this minister could be a leadership candidate. He's in the spotlight on a weekly basis. So you have the worlds colliding. You've got healthcare and you've got an aggressive minister. So this conversation could have and should have been predictable.
Now, I don't know how much time was spent behind the scenes trying to bring this partnership to life in the first place, but I would assume there was a great deal of time and effort that went into that. At the end of the day, the decision to essentially walk away from it as a case study compared to what happens perhaps if you've put a lot of time into something and you want to see it through, even if there is some backlash, what are the takeaways there?
Well, these partnership agreements that I'm drafting you don't go to the board with a done deal. Like, you don't go saying, listen, here's the partner we provided, here's the contract, please approve. You go to the board at inception and say, listen, here's what we're thinking, here's why we're proposing it, here's a list of potential partners, and then get the board buy-in at the very beginning. So if in doubt, boards don't like surprises. Come sooner rather than later. If it's a partnership or stakeholder or a public policy issue that is important to Canadians, come early to the board is the takeaway, John.